This is chapter 2 of a video I did a couple of weeks ago. It got a lot of support and a lot of people wanted a chapter 2. So I am doing something I normally don't do, which is making a chapter 2. I hope you enjoyed just as much as you did the first one, but before we go into it, I would like to remind everybody that the first chapter is still up on my channel, and down in the pinned comment, if you haven't seen it, please watch it first, so you understand what is going on here. Now please, enjoy the show. Welcome or welcome back to Pewdiepie. I'm Zui and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we get right into it, I'm obligated to remind you to click either the like or dislike button, commenting something down below, and of course sharing the video so more people can see and enjoy it. This is very important as it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that your help is greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions or ideas for a story, my Discord link is in my link tree that is down in the description, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi for any donations you may want to send my way. Every cent counts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. The Tower of Wishes, a 300-leveled stone structure in the center between the Empire of the Sun and the Moonlight Collective. It was heavily guarded by the pilgrim butterflies. Strange and unbelievably powerful creatures that looked like a cross between a dead tree and a human. Massive wooden wings allowed these monsters to fly, and flames of pure darkness emanated from their mouths. It was said that black fire could only be doused by holy water that had been blessed by the gods themselves. The races of the world, however, did not understand why these incredibly powerful monsters did not leave the grounds of the Tower of Wishes. However, knowing the truth behind their existence would certainly lead to even greater suffering amongst the mortals, as the Tower of Wishes was the proving ground of the champions of the 7 greater gods who were truly in charge of the world. This was the place where the gods' champions would clash soon. And this was where you needed Bakugou to go. Quietly you watched your little mortal. After the encounter the two of you had, the man regained his confidence, and you made sure he gained a few victories. Thanks to your support, he had become a poacher, a quite successful one at that, making sacks of silver and gold by hunting rare creatures, such as unicorns, pegasi and griffins, for a select clientele, who all just so happened to be proud nobles of the collective, none of them knowing that they were fueling your powers. You had been so mesmerized by the activities of your champion that you didn't notice the heavy footsteps approach you. At least not until a certain rotten scent made itself known to your nostrils. Are you trying to scare me, dear brother? You turned around, a large silhouette behind you, immediately becoming small. The person before you was a tall, shadowy skeleton. Its hair just black tendrils, and eyes made out of pure light. My beloved sister, whispered the shadow.
I cannot hide anything from you, can I?
What do you want, Envy? Bakugou was happy. The past 3 days he had been tirelessly hunting a rather strange creature, a purple-winged unicorn. They were incredibly rare, elusive, and most importantly, they had wings to fly with. But their horns were worth a very nice amount. With his money sack filled with glittering gold, the former mercenary was making his way to the Night Cafe, a tavern in the city of Altair. Altair was currently owned by the collective. It was a unique elven city as it had been built around a mountain rather than a forest. Of course, to humans like him, the holy mountain itself was off limits even after he purchased a house in the city with the money he made from his trips. The night cafe was owned by a dear friend of his, a half-elf and also former rival mercenary named Eijiro Kirishima. The redhead greeted the blonde with a smile, which only got wider when the barbarian threw his gold sack on the bar table. Proudly, Bakugou declared, "All beers for tonight are going on my tab." The bar erupted in happy shouts as he turned to his friend. "Man, I'm having one of the best days of my life." Kirishima chuckled. "Good to hear." He then slammed a large jug of beer before the blonde. "I want details." With a proud smirk, Bakugou began to explain the details of his hunt. How the winged unicorn flew away many times before he could even pull back his bow. "By Queen Sylvia's tits, this thing was skittish," growled Bakugou. "Well," Kirishima shrugged, "there's a reason why people desire them." "I'll tell you, if it wasn't for the goddess of victory, I probably would have never slain it." Kirishima suddenly blinked in confusion. Goddess of victory? Bakugou's eyes widened. "I thought you barbarians only have the god of blood who created life and the god of earth who created the world. You don't believe in the old gods or even the new ones." Bakugou scratched the back of his head. He could have sworn Kirishima's eyes had narrowed, as if angered. He shrugged. I went through a lot of shit. I lost my clan, I lost my band of mercs, and I was homeless for almost a year. I guess the old faith just was a little more attractive to me for a while." Kirishima seemed pleased with the answer. "Well, tonight, we party. Got it?" "Envy," he huffed. "I didn't think you'd choose a stupid barkeeper as your champion, even if he was a mercenary." The shadow that was your brother shrugged.
"I have looked at so many mortals since our last game. He was the only one whose envy made me smile."
"Are you sure you haven't just chosen him because he is my champion's best friend?" Envy chuckled.
"That is just a mere bonus, my dear sister. Plus, I have missed you. You know, during the games we cannot visit each other unless our champions are close together. Or at least until they have reached the Tower of Wishes."
"Uh-huh," was your only sarcastic reply.
"My champion knows of the games, yet yours seems not. What is the deal with that?"
You bit your lower lip.
"You like him, don't you? You like him more than you should. Is that it, pride?"
You shoved Envy aside and took a step back from him. "And what if I do? Lust gets to do much more things with her champions."
Lust doesn't love her champions. Lust just loves what they do to her.
You growled.
"Pride, it is incredibly dangerous for one of us to fall for a champion. They are mortal. They will die, no matter what we do. Even if we turn them into a pilgrim butterfly at the end of their lives."
You sighed. I know that, Envy, but it's his demeanor, his pride, his arrogance. It makes me feel all fuzzy inside."
"If Wrath realizes you are slowing down the game by not attending with
I just haven't gotten the time yet.
Well, judging by what I'm seeing, you don't have to.
You blinked. What? You rushed back to Envy, who was pointing down at Kirishima. He was putting something in Bakugou's drink. No! You exclaimed.
Your game seems to end before it even began. How ironic. Pride.
Hey, what's taking so long? Shouted Bakugou impatiently. Kirishima had taken a little too much time preparing his drink. Admittedly, it was a long shot. But he was too afraid of who he saw as the god of betrayal that had visited him in a dream, declaring him a champion. He just couldn't let this opportunity slide. Yet, Bakugou was his best friend. And a hunch just wasn't enough, wasn't it? He looked down at the poisoned drink. Kirishima's father had been an alchemist. He had told him how to mix common herbs and spices into a powerful sleep drug. And by simply adding a little too much, it would certainly cause death. Hijiro? Bakugou was not concerned. What's wrong? You've been acting a bit cold. Did I do something wrong? You said killing unicorns is fine with you. That's why I go here, after all. The elves will never understand. Kirishima turned around and forced a smile. Oh, I was just adding some cinnamon to your beer. Cinnamon? Asked Bakugou, confused. It's an Elven tradition to put cinnamon in one's beer for good luck. Besides, it tastes great. Bakugou returned the redhead's smile as he placed the jug on the table. Neat. Thanks, brother. Kirishima gulped as he watched Bakugou drink. His heart sunk, and he wanted to cry. The barbarian licked the foam off his lips. I don't taste any cinnamon. It's just normal beer. His friend shrugged. Maybe I didn't put too much in. Let me fix you another one. With a sad look in his eyes, Kirishima now prepared an actual cinnamon beer. He thought, after all, his last drink should be something special. However, as Kirishima returned to his friend, he was already wobbling on his chair. Did I really already have too much? One more then. And then it's enough. Bakugou huffed, took the jug from his friend and downed the drink in a single large gulp, before finally falling backwards, passing out. You were enraged at Envy's champion's trickery. Meanwhile, the shadow was just laughing a quiet laugh. The entire scene had been a tragic comedy to him, while you wished you could intervene. But this was considered a fight by the game, and you had no chance to do anything. You watched as Bakugou's lifeless body was lifted by Kirishima, who shouted, I'll get this drunkard into a cozy room, can you take over? At his elven waitress, Teresa, who then manned the bar for him. Kirishima carried Bakugou over his shoulder into one of the night cafe's empty guest rooms, where he threw the barbarian on the bed. Out of breath, Kirishima sat down on a nearby chair, watching his friend slip away.
Pride. How does it feel to be the first one out of the game?
Asked Envy.
Get out of my world!
You shouted. The shadow shivered at your booming voice, yet he remained.
Sister, come on. It's just a game. 200 years will go over in a flash.
Dejected, you sat down. You just lost to a dirty poison assassination attempt, completely out of the blue. Envy must have been really eager to win this time. As you sulked, however, you didn't notice that Kirishima had stood up. Eyes filled with tears, he walked into his room, almost blindly mixing weeds and grains and the right mushrooms into a fine grey powder. Bakugou was his best friend. Surely the barbarian would tell him if a god visited him in his dreams, right? Right? Then again, he didn't, and he felt horrible for it. Quietly he swiped the powder into a tiny vial, before re-entering Bakugou's room. He held the barbarian's wrist. Yes, there was still a faint heartbeat. And with a final sad sigh, he poured the powder onto his palm and gently let it slide down from his hand into the barbarian's open mouth.
Foolish champion,
shouted Envy. You looked up. Huh?
My champion just gave your champion an antidote for the poison. He must have gotten cold feet, as he isn't sure about it. Maybe your little trick of not telling your mortal worked in the end.
You blinked. Wait, what? Did Envy seriously think that this had all been a trick? The god gave you a furious glare.
Foolish mortals.
Regaining some of your composure, you stepped up to Envy. Well, yeah, all according to plan. Seems like this battle was a tie then. Envy's thin finger slid around your throat. Yet he did not press, both because he knew you were too powerful, but also he understood that the gods could not harm each other. The shadow exhaled sharply, blowing air that smelled like rotten leaves into your face. Valiantly you resisted the urge to vomit. But then he took a step back, seemingly having calmed down.
Well, my dear sister, this was certainly an interesting bout. I look forward to when our champions reach the Tower of Wishes for the real game to begin. But if I were you, I would tell my champion his role that he has to play before it's too late. I'm sure one of the other sins will send their champions to yours to assassinate them before they can become a danger. After all, Sloth has tried that with me already. Thankfully, I could distract him.
And with that advice, Envy vanished into a black vapor as he returned to his own world. You leapt back down to the mortals. Bakugou had returned to consciousness by now. He felt a bit dizzy, sure, but he was alive.
Man, what the hell was that?
Kirishima, who was still by his side, just stared at the ground. You passed out, you had too much, and I gave you some medicine to recover.
Thanks, man. You're the best.
Uh-huh. Bakugou smiled, yet Kirishima felt horrible.
You really are a lifesaver. You know, I'll tell you a secret in return for saving me.
Right? The rat had blushed a little as he felt as if Bakugou was rubbing it in his face.
Here.
Bakugou lifted his shirt, and it took Kirishima all his strength to not immediately lose his composure.
I know you can't see it, you just see a bare chest, but...
Bakugou pointed at the god's mark right above his belly button.
This is where I got marked by the goddess of victory to be her champion. Isn't that cool?
He looked up at his friend, whose smile was just barely holding together.
That means I'm like super important. And sure, it means that we barbarians were wrong all this time about what gods are really, but
Man, I'm so proud. Yeah. Hey, Katsuki, I'm not feeling so well. I'm gonna let Teresa take over for the rest of the night. You should get home too. Bakugou stood up. Yeah, sure thing. Gently he slapped Kirishima's back. See you soon, buddy. Yeah. See you soon. At the Tower of Wishes, most likely. Bakugou was happily and loudly snoring in his bed, as you appeared before him. He smelled of booze, but you didn't care. Champion? You spoke. He grumbled and turned away from you. Champion! You said louder, and finally he awoke. When Bakugou's eyes fell upon you, he shrieked and covered his naked chest from you with his blanket. Superbia! My goddess! He felt as if he was gonna wet himself. Are you here to take my luck away again? You shook your head, as you bit your lower lip. No, I'm here to reward you. Yes. You had carefully thought about how to proceed from here. Reward me? Oh, you mean for the hunt? No. You may be unaware of it, but tonight you had fought an important battle against my brother. To your mortals, he is known as Invidia, the god of betrayal. Bakugou blinked dumbfounded. You sighed, not having the strength to tell him his best friend just tried to murder him. Someone spiked your drinks while you were looking away. Poor Kirishima didn't even realize it himself. Thankfully, he quickly made an antidote, or more, a headache medicine that managed to fight the poison. Oh. Who would try and kill me? A dumb question, I know. He had a lot of enemies on both sides in the war between the Empire of the Sun and the Moonlight Collective. It was then you climbed on his bed, coming incredibly close to your champion's face. And it was as if every sign of alcohol had left him. All he felt now was horny. With a woman of your beauty so close to him, with clothing that even a succubus would call revealing. Well, after all, you only wore a few thin veils. But thanks to your magic, always just barely hid your special bits from you. What I'm going to tell you is very important. The champions of the other gods will come for you. They will try and kill you just like they did today. Bakugou's eyes widened. I knew there's a catch to accepting this deal, but I'm ready. Even though I just barely survived today. You need to be more vigilant, my dear champion. Meet me and the other gods at the Tower of Wishes. The pilgrim will allow you to pass. The pilgrim will see your mark and allow you passage. Be quick, be strong, be brave. Be my champion. Bakugou smiled proudly. I will make you proud, Superbia. Good. You bit your lower lip, no longer able to contain your own emotions. You lunged forward, pressing your perfect lips against his calloused ones. Immediately, Bakugou felt the grace of your holy power engulf him. It was the greatest pleasure he had ever felt before. A surge that electrified every nerve inside of him. If he had less self-control, he'd grab your head just to force you closer to him. He never wanted this to end. But then you let go. Immediately felt a wave of depression. A rebound he didn't saw coming. You enjoyed this, my champion, did you? Bakugou nodded, and for a quick flash you revealed your naked chest to him, making it look like an accident. His face turned red like a tomato. If you do a good job, my champion, if you win, if you survive, I will lie with you. Bakugou blushed harder. Are you certain, my lady, that would feel sacrilegious? You chuckled. Well, my champion, you would have earned it by then.